Hi, today we are going to talk about balancing chemical equation. This unit focuses on ratio and conservation. It is important for students to know that nothing really disappears. It only changes form. Throughout this unit, students are able to learn ratios and ideas of conservation to chemical reaction and chemical yields. Students should be able to predict the amount of reactants and products using proportional relationships and mole concept. Assessment evidence is listed throughout the unit like gizmo practice, chemical equation problems, written summaries, and lab handouts. Learning plan. Creating a game, creating the problems to use in the game. Emphasis standard HSPS17 using mathematical representations and provide experimental evidence to support the claim that atoms and therefore mass are consumed during a chemical reaction. Use the mole concept and proportional relationships to evaluate the quantities of the specific reactants needed in order to obtain a specific amount of product. Essential questions. Why are recipes important in science? What happens if we don't use cooking ingredients in the right proportion? What happens if plants don't get enough sunlight and water? What is important in chemistry and in life for things to balance? Transfer goals. Students will explain how specific proportions of elements and compounds are used to make everyday products, such as cakes and cookies, cleaning products, and paint for art projects. Students will explain how the energy sources they consume impact the world around them. Students will create presentations to express their opinion to others using evidence and reasoning to support their claims. Learning and language objectives. Students should know vocabulary, and algebraic operation used to balance equation, technological tools needed to produce a game and create presentation, and they will be able to identify and apply the use of vocabulary in terms in class, discussions, and writing, calculate moles, calculate mass, apply the law of conservation of mass, predict quantities, produce a board game to demonstrate concepts and vocabulary, create a presentation to argue in favor of a particular type of fuel to generate electricity. Assessment evidence, quality questions raised and tasks designed to meet the needs of all learners. Performance task and summative assessment. Working in duology or as a group, students will use their knowledge of stoichiometry to calculate and report on carbon emissions of different fuels burned to create electricity as outlined in the following scenario. Pre-assessment, discovering students' prior knowledge and experience. Start a work wall, create periodic table, scavenger hunt, give cards to each person with random elements, and he or she writes the number of atoms in a mole and molecular and molar mass of the element. Formative assessment, monitoring student progress throughout the unit. Using a graphic organizer periodic table, students will calculate molecular mass of various molecules and compounds. They will complete problem sets independently, solve a variety of problems, practice balancing equation and stoichiometry, play a card game to determine difference between atoms, molecules, mass, and moles, use a summary model to create a summary for formation of a compound, analyze, calculate, and evaluate equations, participate in lab that require them to predict, observe, analyze, conclude, and share their results. Students will create a game to review and practice unit vocabulary. Multiple means of engagement. Goal. personal, academic, and behavior goals. Strategies: teacher guidance, reminders, guides, rubrics, checklists, and prompts. Student task: active participation, exploration, and experimentation. Teacher will provide differentiated models, scaffolds, and feedback. Multiple means of representation. Throughout the unit, the teacher will provide information or material in several modalities such as diagrams, vocabulary notebooks, word walls, posters, charts with formulas or for calculations, models, videos, and audio for text. The teacher will also demonstrate concepts through the hands-on activities, use of gizmos as well as videos to show students how to use tachymetry. Teacher will also do labs with vinegar and baking soda to show chemical reaction. Multiple means of action and expression. Students will complete projects by making PowerPoint or Scratch presentations, acting as the city engineer. Students will define scaffold writing or composing activities using tools such as concept maps, outlining tools, or graphic organizers. Students may need sentence starters and story webs to complete writing or composing tasks. The teacher will also break down long-term goals into short-term reachable goals. Literacy and numeracy across the content areas. Reading. The students will read from the textbook, worksheets, computer simulations, and read from the word walls, peer-created games and presentation, and interactive activities. Writings. The students will give their written responses to textbook, teacher-created, and gizmo lesson questions. Speaking and listening. Students will participate in discussions throughout the unit and speak and listen to other students during the pre-assessment interactive activities. Language. The students will think critically using the vocabulary presented in this unit. Numeracy. Students will use knowledge of ratios and algebraic equations to balance the equation and complete stoichiometry problems and compare and contrast math and chemistry vocabulary. Resources. Materials: paper, pencil, textbooks, markers as indicated for assessment, words with multiple meanings, table, finding molecular mass, game planning template, game rubric, using chemistry to evaluate power plant options, electricity production, stoichiometry calculation, student organization, and answer sheet. Thank you.